Imagine a girl born in the city of Oviedo in northern Spain to a middle-class family who created her own destiny, an independent young woman, a journalist who once ran through war zones, television's rising star. Then one night, a dinner, a prince, love at first sight, and a modern fairy tale. Sacrifices, endless criticism, conflicts, a secret love, scandals, and finally, the heavy price of a crown. Are you ready to witness the difficult, painful, and lonely journey of an ordinary journalist who sacrificed her career, freedom, and perhaps even happiness to become Queen of Spain? Here is the incredible story of Queen Letizia of Spain. The legendary news story begins. On September 15th, 1972, a home in the city of Oviedo echoed with the voice of a newborn baby. This baby, born into an ordinary family, was named Letizia. The most fundamental characteristic that would distinguish this baby, who would become Queen of Spain in later years, from other queens was that she was born into an ordinary family and had no connection to the throne from the first day of her life. Now let us take a look at the life story of this extraordinary woman, her transformation from an ordinary journalist into Spain's first commoner and one of modern Europe's most controversial, most influential and perhaps loneliest queens, Queen Letizia's life story. And let us follow the shadow of truth together. Letizia Ortiz Rocasolano was born on September 15, 1972, in the city of Oviedo, Spain. At the time of her birth, her grandfather was working as an ordinary taxi driver in Madrid. Her father, Jesus José Ortiz Alvarez, was a journalist working for a local newspaper. Her mother, Paloma Rocasolano, was a nurse. The things discussed in their home during her childhood were not balls, titles, or palace gossip, but the struggle to make ends meet, working hours and responsibilities that were discussed in every normal citizen's home. Letizia grew up in such a family environment with her two other sisters, Telma and Erica. Since the family often struggled financially, barely getting by was the daily reality of this household. These difficult conditions caused Letizia to mature at an early age. Letizia began her primary education at La Gesta Elementary School. When she was 14 years old, her family moved to Madrid and she completed her high school education at Ramiro de Maeztu Institute. After finishing high school, she decided to follow in her father's footsteps and continued her education in journalism. Just like most fairy tale princesses, Letizia never thought she would become a queen in the future. These were financially difficult times for her and her family, and she witnessed firsthand her mother's struggle to support the family. Thanks to her father's profession, she became familiar with the smell of newsrooms, printing rooms, and agencies at a young age. In 1999, her mother and father divorced. This divorce left a deep mark on Letizia. The burden of the family was largely on her mother's shoulders. This was exactly the period when Letizia's character was being shaped. She acquired hard work, discipline, goal orientation, and the ability to suppress emotions during this period. And these characteristics would be very useful to her in royal life in the future. Young Letizia began studying journalism at Madrid Complutense University. She was not an ordinary student during her university years either. After completing her undergraduate education in 1996, she did a master's degree at the Institute of Journalism Studies. After her master's degree, she went to Mexico. While working for newspapers in Mexico, she gained practical experience. When she returned to Spain, she started working at Bloomberg Spain. Here she developed her expertise by focusing on economics, finance and markets. Then she presented morning news. She attracted attention with her stern looks, clear sentences, and seemingly emotionless professionalism. In 2000, she was awarded the Best Journalist Under 30 award by the Madrid Press Association. This award got proof that her professional career was progressing towards the peak. In July 2000, she moved to Spain's national television Televisión Española, TVE. This was a big leap in her career. Here she had now become one of the country's most recognized news faces. In 2003, she undertook perhaps the riskiest mission of her career, the Iraq War. She presented live reports from the war zone, worked in dangerous regions. In her private life, before meeting the royalty, Letizia had not lived a simple life. When she was only 16 years old, she met Alonso Guerrero Perez, a literature teacher 10 years older than her. This relationship turned into marriage over the years, and the couple married in a civil ceremony on August 7th, 1998. They had not had a religious marriage according to Catholic traditions. This marriage was invalid in the eyes of the Catholic Church. However, she did not find the happiness she was looking for in this marriage. The marriage lasted only 1 year, and they divorced in 1999. This detail would be critical for the royalty in the future, because this was a civil marriage and it eliminated the obligation to obtain an annulment from the Catholic Church. Conservative circles had difficulty accepting that a journalist, moreover a divorced one, would enter the royal family. However, thanks to the civil marriage, they had to accept it. Letizia was now strong. She was recognized. She was independent. She was at the peak of her career. And until this period, she had a life unrelated to the royalty. But fate had begun to weave its webs for her. In 2002, Letizia attended a dinner invitation in Madrid. Crown Prince Felipe, who was serving in the Spanish Navy, was also at the dinner. Felipe was 34 years old at the time and had been under pressure to marry for years. His name had been mentioned with many women, from a Norwegian model to a Liechtenstein princess to socialite Gigi Howard. But he had not married. Letizia was 30 years old, at the peak of her career, an independent woman. A bond immediately formed between the two. From the outside, this looked like love at first sight. But in reality, this relationship contained largely negative aspects for the royal family. Letizia was a journalist. She was divorced. She was one of the people. With these aspects, she was an unusual candidate for the Spanish monarchy. Letizia and Felipe kept their relationship secret for a long time. They did not appear together in public, did not give interviews, responded to gossip with silence. Letizia continued her work. Felipe fulfilled his duties. Their relationship was secret and no one knew. Until November 1st, 2003. That day, the royal palace officially announced the engagement of journalist Letizia Ortiz and Prince of Asturias Felipe. All of Spain was shocked. The media went crazy. Prince Felipe's words were striking. "We stand here in love, determined and dedicated to serving Spain." The engagement ring was decorated with 16 baguette-cut diamonds and set on white gold. This ostentatious ring was a symbol that Letizia had entered a path of no return. The reactions to the engagement were varied. Some applauded her, saying, "21st century queen," because for the first time, one of the people would enter the palace. Others were angry about this event, because conservatives did not approve of a divorced woman becoming queen. Letizia was extremely calm and controlled at the press conference, but there was an uncertainty in her eyes. She would give up her career. She would give up her freedom. She would give up her identity. It was as if she had entered an endless path. The wedding took place on May 22, 2004, at Almudena Cathedral in Madrid. This was the first royal wedding held in the cathedral. Royalty, heads of state and senior officials from all over the world attended the wedding, which had 1,600 guests. Letizia's wedding dress, with its price of $8 million, received the title of the most expensive royal wedding dress. This royal outfit, designed by royal fashion designer Manuel Pertegaz, was a high-necked, long-sleeved design in ivory silk embroidered with real gold. The silk satin gold-embroidered wedding dress was a masterpiece with a 4.5-metre train. The Queen completed this outfit with the diamond-studded crown that her mother-in-law, Queen Sofia, had worn on her wedding day with Juan Carlos. The wedding crown Letizia wore at the wedding had a brilliant 100-year history. This crown had also been worn by Princess Frederica of Greece and Queen Sofia of Spain. This diamond kokoshnik crown looked delicate and tiny compared to the others. The central columns placed on the upper part of the head, curves rising to support the central pear-shaped dangling necklace, and laurel leaves were placed between them. More than half of Spain's population watched the ceremony live on their televisions. The streets were empty. Everyone was in front of the television. It was a historic day for Spain. Millions of people around the world were also watching an unwanted young girl marry into a famous family, the Spanish royal family. The heroes of this glorious wedding were a tall and handsome prince and a TV presenter and correspondent from an ordinary family who was not really welcomed by the family she was marrying into. After this ostentatious wedding, Letizia was now Princess of Asturias, but the palace was not her home, not yet. After marriage, Letizia began to represent her father-in-law, King Juan Carlos, in Spain and abroad. On October 31st, 2005, their first child, Leonor, was born. This was a critical moment for the Spanish monarchy, because the heir baby, the future queen, had been born. On April 29, 2007, their second daughter, Sophia, was born. Letizia was no longer just a princess. She was the mother of two princesses, one of whom was the heir. And one of these girls would one day be Queen of Spain. During her princess years, Letizia also began to create her own agenda. From 2007 onwards, she participated in independent activities. She focused on children's rights, education, health issues. She especially worked on awareness about rare diseases. However, 2012 was a complete disaster year for the Spanish monarchy. Storms were raging inside the palace. King Juan Carlos had serious problems, and this started with his hunting trip to Botswana in 2012. The photograph of the king proudly standing in front of a dead elephant with a rifle in his hand resonated widely and was harshly criticized in his country. The king was at that time the honorary president of the Spanish branch of the World Wildlife Fund. The people were angry. While the country was in economic crisis, the king was hunting elephants. Moreover, the fact that he broke his hip during this vacation and had to be brought back to Spain made the scandal even bigger. Worse still, a corruption scandal involving Felipe's sister Cristina's husband, Iñaki Urdangarin, broke out. The case, which started with allegations of embezzlement of public funds, lasted for years. In 2014, the court found Urdangarin guilty and sentenced him to prison. While the king was killing elephants on a private big game hunt in Botswana, the unemployment rate in Spain was 23%. The monarchy began to be widely questioned, and the first collective calls for an investigation into the king's financial situation rose. These scandals deeply shook the foundations of the monarchy. The streets were filled with Republic slogans. In 2014, the Spanish monarchy was in a major crisis. And Letizia was right in the middle of the storm. As the pressures increased, in 2014, the king had to abdicate the throne. And this paved the way for Felipe to become king and Letizia to become consort queen. On June 19, 2014, Felipe VI officially became King of Spain, and Letizia received the title of Queen of Spain. This was not just a title change. Letizia was becoming Spain's first Spanish-born queen consort since 1878. Since then, all queens had come from foreign nobility. Letizia came from the people. Letizia appeared calm and majestic at the ceremony, but a portion of the Spanish people still saw her as the journalist woman. Letizia viewed the queenship not as a representative duty, but as a tool for reform. This attitude disturbed some traditionalists. One of her first actions was transparency. The publication of expenditures on the royal website was implemented during this period. This was revolutionary for Spanish royal history. Letizia's working areas were clear: children's rights, education, health, rare diseases, and the fight against cancer. She especially worked on education and vocational training for ages 6 to 16. But the tensions within the palace did not end, especially the relationship with the former queen, Queen Sofia. Even some tense behaviours occurred in front of the press. Easter Sunday 2018, Palma de Mallorca Cathedral. The family was leaving the service. Cameras were filming. And that moment happened. When Queen Sofia wanted to take a photo with her granddaughters Leonor and Sophia, Letizia intervened. She gently pushed little Sophia's arm. She also pulled Leonor's hand. Queen Sophia's face froze in this situation. The cameras were recording and recorded everything. The video went viral. The world talked about these images. According to the press, this was not a momentary tension. This was a clash of two different understandings of queenship. Sophia was traditional. She believed in the old order of the palace. Letizia was modern. She thought differently about her children's upbringing style, openness to the public, protocols. This crisis revealed the power struggle within the palace. Letizia had won, but the price was losing the love of a portion of the people. Most people condemned Letizia and commented that the real queen was Sophia. In November 2023, a bomb literally exploded in the Spanish royal family. Journalist Jaime Peñafiel published a book called Letizia and Me. The book contained shocking claims about Queen Letizia. According to the allegations, Letizia had a secret relationship with her sister Telma's ex-husband, Jaime del Burgo. Moreover, this relationship had continued even after she married Felipe. Del Burgo, who was at the centre of the allegations, made posts on social media confirming what was written. He published a selfie of pregnant Letizia. According to his claim, Letizia had written to him, "My love, I'm wearing your pashmina. It's as if you're with me, looking at me, protecting me. I'm counting the hours until I see you again. I love you." We spent many years of our lives together. We were a family, he continued with his claims. Del Burgo claimed there were photographs, videos, cell phones and messages that he said he kept in a bank vault in Switzerland. The royalty remained silent about these allegations. There was no denial, no confirmation. Spanish society was divided in two. Some saw this as an attack on Letizia. Others were saying, the truths are coming out. The painful events for Letizia did not stop there. Letizia's sister Erica committed suicide on February 7, 2007. She was only 31 years old when she died. This tragedy deeply shook Letizia. Letizia continued to appear strong in public, but those close to her knew how much she was suffering. In November 2024, a terrible flood disaster occurred in the Valencia region of Spain. Hundreds of people died. King Felipe and Queen Letizia visited the region, but the scene they were greeted with was shocking. Angry people threw mud at them. "Murderers! Disappear!" slogans were chanted. Letizia's face was covered with mud, but Letizia did not leave. She did not flee. She stayed there. She tried to talk to people. King Felipe was also beside her. These images circulated around the world. Some said the royal family showed courage. Others expressed their opinions saying, now the end of the monarchy in Spain has come. But in the midst of all this chaos, a ray of hope shone. This light was the future queen, Princess Leonor. Born on October 31st, 2005, Leonor became the first in line to the Spanish throne when her father ascended to the throne on June 19, 2014. Leonor's education was meticulously planned. Like her father, she studied at Santa Maria de los Rosales School in Madrid. Then she completed the International Baccalaureate programme at UWC Atlantic College in Wales. On October 31st, 2023, on her 18th birthday, she took an oath of allegiance to the Spanish Constitution. On August 17, 2023, Princess Leonor joined the General Military Academy in Zaragoza and began 3 years of military training. This training was not compulsory. It was symbolic, but necessary, because Leonor will one day be the Commander-in-Chief of the Spanish Armed Forces. The perception that Queen Letizia keeps her eldest daughter, Princess Leonor, in the foreground, in public, while treating her younger daughter, Infanta Sofia, more distantly, has long been a subject of debate. Although it is considered normal for Leonor, the heir to the throne, to be more visible according to royal protocol, this situation raises the question, is the mother showing preference on social networks? Beside Leonor was always her sister Infanta Sofia. Born on April 29, 2007, Sofia was Leonor's closest friend and ally. The two attended many events together. In July 2025, Leonor and Sofia went to Switzerland and watched the Spain-England match at the UEFA Women's Euro 2025 final. England won, but the princesses were there. At this match, they met with Prince William and Princess Charlotte. This was a meeting of Europe's future royal families. At the beginning of 2026, Letizia was 53 years old. She had spent 12 years as queen. She was respected more than loved. Some found her cold, some said controlling. But no one could deny that she was strong. Queen Letizia of Spain. She was not a fairy tale queen. She was a woman who wore a crown by paying a price. She sacrificed her career. She sacrificed her freedom. Perhaps she sacrificed her happiness. But she raised 2 magnificent daughters. Leonor will be Spain's future queen. And Letizia is preparing her for queenship in the best way. Letizia's style was also striking. She had an elegant, chic, modern but not excessive style. She supported Spanish designers: Felipe Varela, Carolina Herrera, Massimo Dutti. Letizia's legacy in the future will be complex. Some will see her as a symbol of modernization, the first queen from the people, the woman who brought transparency, the advocate for children's rights. Some will see her as a symbol of the monarchy's weakening, scandals, family conflicts, disconnection from the people. But there is one truth. Letizia brought change, a different atmosphere. For better or worse, time will tell. If the Spanish monarchy is to survive, it will be thanks to Leonor and Letizia, who raised Leonor. Queen Letizia's story is not just the rise of a woman, it is also the story of modern monarchies' struggle for survival. She is a woman trying to be a 21st century queen. She is trying to balance between traditions and modernity, between secrecy and transparency, between her family and her duty. Was she successful? Perhaps only history will answer this question, but this is certain. Letizia will be an unforgettable queen. Good or bad, Spanish history will remember her. And perhaps her most important legacy will be her daughter, Leonor, the future queen. You have watched the incredible story of Queen Letizia of Spain's journey from a small town and an ordinary home to the royal palace in Madrid. If Queen Letizia's life has touched you like it has me, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. In the next video, let's discover together another life lost in the shadows of history. Goodbye.